Standing here at the crossroads of history, where past and future collides, in that delicate intersection lies a secret to true wealth, not just in monetary terms, but in the legacy, influence, and resilience. While most believe that fortunes turn on a dime, some families have found the keys to enduring prosperity, crafting strategies not only to grow their wealth, but also to ensure its passage through generations yet to come. These families know full well that the accumulation of wealth is not only a matter of accumulating assets, but also of nurturing values, cultivating wisdom, and making decisions that reach well beyond the moment. They create dynasties that outlive them, reaching far into the future, and in doing so, make sure their mark is never erased for decades, even centuries. But what does it take to make such a feat possible? Is this a matter of savvy investments? Or does the real secret lie in something deeper? How do these families execute such seamless wealth transfers? The delicate balance between preserving capital and passing on the values that enable their prosperity to continue with each successive generation. Today, we turn our attention to generational wealth planning, a careful art that demands foresight, discipline, and steadfast dedication to legacy. The idea is to understand what generational wealth is. It goes beyond just the concept of passing money down. It is creating a financial ecosystem that flourishes well past one's lifetime. Estate planning has long formed the core of this very process. Although the concept is very ancient, its applicability has only grown in today's modern world, where finances have grown decidedly much more complex. Generational wealth entails several different kinds of assets, from cash and shares to real estate and private businesses. These are not merely assets, but tools, which, if used judiciously, can only build a lasting legacy. But how do families make sure those assets will not only survive across generations, but flourish? Building generational wealth starts with a vision. What are your goals? Who shall benefit from your wealth? And arguably, most importantly, how will you get there? The wealthiest families don't leave these questions unanswered. They create in-depth, individualized wealth-building strategies that account for their specific circumstances and long-term objectives. The first understanding in generational wealth planning is that wealth is not money alone, but values, education, and the ability to adapt to monetary circumstances. The families that tend to traverse their wealth well usually have a sense of vision and take out the time necessary for educating subsequent generations in these very responsibilities. Added to financial education, most wealthy families are usually concerned with a well-developed sense of purpose and legacy. It's not just about the money. Rather, it is about what that money can do. Through philanthropy, entrepreneurship, or preservation of family traditions, a well-instilled sense of purpose manages to bind generations together and hence ensures that wealth is put to good purpose. The other secret that ensures a continuity of wealth across generations is diversification and adaptability. Wealthy families know full well that putting all their eggs in one basket is an invitation to disaster. They spread their investments across a wide variance of instruments so that these are well placed to ride out economic storms and avail of newer opportunities. While the concentration of family values and internal communication is important, rich families also know that richness is better handled with the help of professional advice. After all, managing a fortune requires expertise in such areas as tax law, estate planning, and investment management that few individuals possess. Professional advisors in generational wealth planning guide the family through the tricky path of the legal and financial worlds to ensure that their hard-earned wealth is well protected and transferred. This would include trust setups, wills, strategies to minimize the tax burden, and all that goes with estate planning. In fact, by seeking the collaboration of a team of trusted advisors, unexpected pitfalls can be avoided, and hard-earned family wealth can be transferred by an individual's wishes. It is this kind of professional support that, for many families, will make the difference between a fortune truly enduring across generations and one that does not. Now, what differentiates truly wealthy people? It has nothing to do with a system or structure. Rather, it's all to do with the right mindsets. It's not just about knowing what you want, but about being specific to what you want. In other words, besides knowing that you want a net worth of $5 million in 5 years, You will also need to predetermine what cash flow will be required to sustain your lifestyle. True wealth is not found in achieving some financial target. It's when you build a life wherein your investments fully pay for all of your living expenses or lower, and you can live as you please without the burden of needing to work just to make ends meet. Interestingly, those who are the wealthiest continue to work hard, not out of necessity, but for the love of the game. They've mastered the game, and now it's about the joy of playing it, not the necessity. But first, let me take a step backward. One of the major barriers standing between a person and the creation of wealth is an inability or resistance to define what you want. You can't hit a target that isn't defined. What's the saying? A moving target? Take a minute now to reflect on where you want to be in 3, 5, or even 20 years, whether you're starting at square one or already on the path. Write it down. Be specific about what you will accomplish, the net worth, the cash flow, and the kind of lifestyle that you will buy. Whereby, research has shown that 80% of people end up financially struggling, relying on family, minimal savings, or government assistance. This is one of the wealthiest eras in history. On the other side of the coin, 15% become wealthy, and only 4% acquire generational wealth, whereby your fortune can be passed to future generations. The top 1%, they achieve transformational wealth. These guys can buy cities if they want. This fortune is almost impossible for the average Joe to comprehend. In the United States, bringing in $400,000 a year will get you into this category. But remember, it's not about how much you're bringing in, it's about what happens with it thereafter. So where are you today? Have you taken stock of your current financial situation? Have you set a clear, actionable goal for where you want to be in the next 3, 5, or 20 years? If not, now's the time. It is never too late to start planning for your financial future, but it does always start with defining what you want and taking decisive action on how to get there. Arguably, one of the most important steps in changing your identity involves re-evaluation of those you spend the most time with. For instance, my main friend group during my high school years was made up of people who worked late-night shifts at a grocery store, much like myself. They were a bunch of people stuck in the ways of old partners, just generally not moving forward in life. We had a good time, sure, but that path was not going anywhere good. I lost several close friends in my late teens and early 20s to suicide, murder, and drug overdoses. Those tragedies were wake-up calls that made me realize I was on a dangerous path. First, develop relationships with 1 or 2 people further along than you, not miles ahead, such as owning 1,000 rental properties when you're just buying your first home, but only a few steps in front of you. Maybe somebody has bought their first home, refinanced it, and purchased a second property. These are the relationships that might show you the potential within yourself, as they represent the success you would like to achieve. When you are around people who believe in you, even subtly, it all too often begins shifting your identity. So ask yourself, who could you reach out to in the next couple of weeks that may be a little outside your comfort zone and could help you grow? Perhaps you meet up for coffee once a month, discuss what you're learning, and even share insights from your experiences. It could be anything, even playing a sport like pickleball. But the actual mission is to extract that knowledge and those habits of the people who have helped them succeed so that you can apply it to your life. In addition to individual relationships, remember to join groups through which you can learn and grow. Whether it be watching educational shows like Shark Tank to make sense of business strategies or activist groups, investment clubs, networking clubs, or even online forums, surrounding yourself with similar-minded people is crucial in life. The idea is that like attracts like, and as you spend more time with people focused on growth, you are naturally going to start shifting your own identity in a positive direction. Lastly, just be receptive to the learning process. Whether it be watching a small YouTube clip about a successful entrepreneur or starting local investment clubs, it is out there and waiting for you. The more prepared you are in those environments, the more you will begin to learn how to envision yourself toward a brighter future. Now, regarding the long game, the wealthiest of my friends do not play for fast money. Schemes promising them quick riches do not tempt them, because they understand, as certain as the sun rises, when something has the ring of being too good to be true, it probably is. Fast money is often a harbinger of fast losses. They do focus on the long-term potential of their investments. Consider a venture in real estate. One would not entertain the question of whether this property will appreciate over the next year, but what it might be worth 20 years hence. The long game is about interim, incremental improvements that create value through time, while appreciating that success often requires the scope of decades, not months. Wealth is slowly carved out, rewarding patience. Take, for instance, the story of Don Bren, one of the wealthiest men on earth and the owner of the Irvine Company in Southern California. When the market spiked down early in the 1980s, Bren bought it, with his partners selling out to him for a song, a tiny fraction of the money they'd invested. He played long, leveraged his assets, and waited for the market to bounce back. Fast forward to today, and that investment has compounded into a multi-billion-dollar fortune. What's the lesson? Time in the market isn't as important as time in the market. You guys are in your 20s and 30s now, some of you, Hector and Jordan, and so many of you, and the long game is far away, even scary. But think about it this way. Warren Buffett, one of the smartest investors in the history of time, built a lot of his fortune by investing in companies he deeply believed in and holding those investments for decades. He was not day trading, all in on the companies whose values aligned with his. Of course, day trading is exciting, but really, the stock market is not always predictable. I once read a study that determined only 12 days in a year account for the throughput performance of the entire market. If you miss one, your returns may be considerably curtailed. Missing one or two more, and your gains are all gone. So the next time you feel tempted to move toward quick bucks, remember this: it takes years to build wealth, and it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not about the dollar you make today. It's about that $1 that grows and multiplies into the decade coming, whether in real estate, stocks, or startups. Play the long game. One of the biggest lessons learned is the utmost sacrifice, which is probably among the very top reasons why most people never reach their financial goals. Many people simply will not sacrifice. Rather, they get caught up and drift into spending their money on things they don't need, such as a new iPhone or a new car every 2 or 3 years. They're not willing to keep their present car for some more time or reduce unnecessary expenses to enable them to invest in their future success instead of instant gratification. Think of such stories of parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents who gave so much up for the next generation to live a better life. Remember, not everyone's going to respond, but that shouldn't deter you from trying. Kevin Hart says, it's about getting into the right rooms, showing up with curiosity. When you see someone who has access to just what you want, do not be afraid to go and approach. Most successful people reach that state by being curious enough to learn something from other people. Therefore, the next time you feel there is an opportunity, do not let it slip away.